Hi, I'm Rabbit Pro and running coach Sandy Nightpaver, and today I'm going to give you a few tips to build a runner-specific strength routine. Let's get started. So I know you want to jump right into the strength exercises, but before that, I think it's really important to start with activation, mobility, and even active release. And what this is going to do is going to help you move your body well so you can perform the exercise correctly and really use your muscles to your full capacity. Now, about a year ago, I started working with a strength coach, and he had me start with these three things. And for the first couple of weeks, I was pretty sore. And I was like, what is going on? I'm used to lifting heavy weights. Why am I getting sore just from some mobility exercises? And what was going on is that because I was making sure my body was moving well and doing these three things pretty much on a daily basis, I was able to utilize my muscles so much better. A good example that I find for most runners is thinking about your hip flexors in relation to your gluteal muscles. And so hip flexor tightness can be a big problem for some people, especially when we sit all day. But when our hip flexors get tight, it's harder for us to get into good hip extension when we run. And to get into good hip extension, along with like good hip flexor mobility, we have to activate our glutes. And so if our hip flexors get too tight, we cannot activate our gluteal muscles as well. So with that said, take a little bit of time to really focus on these three things. And then once you know your body is moving well, then it's time to get into other strength training. While there's multiple forms of strength training, for runners, I think core strength takes the win for most important. So when you think of your core, you want to think of not only your abs, but obliques, hips, glutes, hamstrings, really this whole area. And keeping this area strong is really going to help with injury prevention, but more than that, it's going to help with running efficiency, which is going to help you maintain good form during your race and therefore better endurance and better speed, especially later on in a run or a race. One of the nice things about doing core work is that you can just use your body weight or a few bands and then you can do it anywhere. Now, there are a lot of core exercises out there and it can get overwhelming for some people to know what to do. So one thing that I found helpful for the athletes I work with is we have a list of core exercises, and then when it's time to do core work, they just pick anywhere from 3 to 5 exercises, rotate through those, and do normally about 2 to 3 sets depending on their time. And the most important thing with core work is, well, two things really, is one, that you do it consistently. Two, that when you do it, you make sure you're activating the right muscles to get the most out of your session. So sometimes just really focusing in on core work for 20 minutes can be better than a 40-minute session where you're just going through the motions. Let's move on to heavy lifting and plyometrics. Both of these things can improve your running economy because they can increase the amount of muscle fibers you can utilize as you run, and they can also improve your rate of force development. So with that, you can think of more explosive strength. Possibly more important is that they can help maintain muscle mass and even help with bone density, especially as we age. The big catch is that if you're doing this with poor form, you can of course increase your injury risk or further ingrain poor mechanics. And so whenever you're incorporating these things into your routine, good form has to come first. So videotape yourself, invest in a strength coach, just things like that, or even do everything in front of a mirror. And then when you go to incorporate these things, start off small. You don't want to do so much that you're so sore the next day that you can barely run. That's not the goal. You're a runner. You don't want to get that sore with strength training. So start small, be smart about it. And one of the best things for jumping exercises or plyometrics for runners is just doing hill sprints. Less likely to get injured that way, and you're getting in a form of plyometrics while also getting your miles in. So again, I'm all for heavy lifting and plyometrics. Just be smart about it. Now let's talk about applying the strength you've gained to your actual running form. Unfortunately, just getting stronger in the areas you targeted doesn't always go right into your running form and increase your speed or endurance. You have to actually think about the muscles you want to be using as you run. And you can also do something like drills. Drills are a great way to incorporate all that strength into your running form, and then also, again, doing the activation and a pre-run warm-up. And the biggest thing, as I said earlier, is actually just thinking about the muscles you want to be using as you run. When you take that first mile of the run, to actually feel things like your glutes working, and then do a mid-run check-in, and then especially later in a long run or speed workout, still making sure you're using the muscles you want to be using. Now, compared to activation exercises, you might not be feeling those muscles working as hard, but you should be able to feel the muscles you want to be working as you run. So again, make sure you're actually utilizing all that hard-earned strength you've gained. So those are my running specific strength tips. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did enjoy it, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I would love to hear from you and see if these tips have helped you in the future. And I think that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoy some strong runs in the future.